Is that working? Do we have workiness? Or is it broken still? Have I broken it? I might have broken it. I'm bad with computer, apparently. Let's get rid of this one. Delete. That's... yeah, good. We're good. Let's grab... Get shareable link. Go into this one. Sorry. There is live now. We rather greatly appreciate your videos. Any word on what will be for sale during Fleet Week? Wait until Timothy is back and we'll talk about that. Oh. So that. Is that working? We good? Is that better? I'm so sorry. I broke everything. I literally broke everything. The whole internet. Is the audio okay from me as well, yeah? I appreciate people helping me set up my stream like a professional. That's good, that's good, that's good. Timothy J. Moulton, thank you so much for the donation. Appreciate it. Sorry that you gave me money and then everything exploded. So I blame you for giving me money. No, thank you so much. Very much appreciated. When did you start to pro stream? I know, right? It is proper pro streaming now. So any word on what's going to be on sale during Fleet Week? The only thing that I'm aware of was there was no confirmation of anything that's on sale for Fleet Week yet. Some people have said in leaks that they saw the Lightning F8 potentially being on sale. We don't know. That could just be a rumour. There's rumours, and it looks like there's going to be a military ship sale, what I'd expect, and there's potentially going to be skins for those ships. So we'll have to wait and see. Expect a range of ships, probably useful military and militia ships, so things like the Gladius, but also the Cutlass Black. So like that sort of quite utilitarian ship as well. Hannah, thank you very much for the sub, very much appreciated. Hello. Hope you are all doing well. If you've got a question, please ask with question in brackets. That will help me pick it out from the hopeful pile of questions. Any questions you asked in the other stream a second ago that I immediately broke, please ask again, because I would not have seen them. Or I might have seen them, but I've ignored them now. How can you be okay with the proposed high-speed combat changes when they appear to result all future combat being bland, boring slugfests in the vein of Elite? I recognise that limiting jousting does need some resolution, and players need means of limiting others escaping, but I strongly feel that tying ship velocity to the function of weapons, shields and quantum drives in space is incredibly inane. So, you might have a point, but we don't know until it's in our hands. We don't actually know what they are tying to high-speed combat. It could be, they could decide eventually, maybe, that you generate a load more heat and it drains more power, or it has more... your shields just take more damage or something. There are things that they could do when it comes to high-speed combat that aren't not necessarily too game-breaking and stop. Like, they might not prevent combat behaviour. They might just enhance it, because the idea is they want to have players, for the most part, dogfighting at dogfighting ranges and not constantly jousting. They want combat to be closer together. They want it to... So you can see the prettiness and of the ships, and it slows down combat slightly, a bit more. That's their sort of vision for it. The Wing Commander-esque type of combat. Maybe a bit faster paced than that, but how are you so handsome? It's the way that God or whoever made me. If it's a simulation, then someone went, actually, we're going to spend some time crafting this beautiful potato. Oh, God, it's got legs. You like the new camera angle, you're not sure why. The camera's actually just fallen down slightly. And that's all it is. So I'm on a new PC, so that's hence why the lot of problems they had. And you'll be seeing some of this PC later. It's a cool Alienware PC with a 3950 in it. Going to be making a Star Citizen rig as well in the near future. I'm going to be doing some work with Aztec, who make the coolers for a huge range of companies that then repackage those coolers and like add to them and do stuff with them for PCs and CPUs and GPUs. So we're talking about that later in the month. So it's don't worry about the PC. Don't worry about the PC at the moment. The fact that it's an Alienware, don't worry. I typically build my own. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. This is so. One of the things I want to talk about today. Let me turn the music down slightly. One of the major things I want to talk about today is some of the older stuff, how it relates to some of the newer stuff with the roadmap and with what was shown, what's been sort of like was on the roadmap in the earlier days. Now this is from, I believe, is this 2017's Gamescom presentation? 2016, it might be 2016. So this is the version 2 Planet Tech that was the first sort of like, other than Pupil to Planet, the first time we saw gameplay of what it was like to be on a planet. And this was quite a while ago now. And I sort of wanted to show it because some of the stuff in game here now is actually being brought into the game now. It was in the game then. It's being brought into the game now with like the weather and that sort of stuff as well. And it's a weird thing because we're clearly in a very long development cycle, and some of the original sort of like let's say the 2017 roadmap, some of that still isn't complete. And I know they've been doing reschedules and stuff, so sort of wanted to talk about with other questions as well at the same sort of time, jumping back and forth about roadmaps, about how useful they are, how accurate CIG have been with them, and that sort of stuff. Now, I'm assuming those guys were AI. Maybe they weren't even AI there. Maybe they were actually players. Stoned Healthrican, thank you very much for the sub, very much appreciated. You star. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing. And I also want to have a look in a minute at this roadmap from 2017 for Star Citizen, because there's some interesting stuff on it. And a lot of the stuff has been completed now, but obviously it completed a year or a year and a half later. And that's fine. I mean, they do rescheduling stuff. We knew it was going to be a long development. There's obviously been delays and yeah, I mean, and there's been quite a lot of rescheduling as well. And other stuff's come out that wasn't in this roadmap and stuff. But there's things on here like the Bounty Merchantman, which was supposed to start work on the February 10th, 2017. And so, like, there's some quite interesting things. There's a crossbow. What else do we have? I saw some interesting... There's a load of AI stuff that still isn't in the game yet, I think. There's drowning. Towards the end of the year, they put drowning in for the next year. Is there any other ships that haven't been completed yet? There's Crusaders in there for starting on the September 2017. So it's an interesting one, and obviously they reprioritized stuff and they focused on certain things, and I think they focused largely on a lot of Squadron 42 stuff. There was a load of delays, and then they focused on a load of core systems and core tools, and a lot of it is tooling tech. But yeah, we can come back to this and we'll talk about it in a minute. I really liked this original demo that was shown, but it was and there was even like an unsafe conditions warning. Sorry if it keeps on flickering. That was just sort of like the quality of the thing I had. What have we got? When are you getting an upgrade? When are we getting an upgrade to the Mobi class? So in the new patch 3.10, they've got the shop that will allow you to sell upgrades to the Mobi Glass eventually. The factory line store, which is Microtech's like premier store. So that's in like the middle of the shopping district area. So the interesting thing about that is that we don't know if any items are actually being sold at that shop when it opens up. We're assuming there's going to be some, but we haven't got confirmation of that. Maybe you'll be able to customize and buy a new Mobi Glass, even if it's just a skin for your Mobi Glass, even if it's just like the actual item Mobi Glass change, but maybe not. Eventually you'll be able to get your upgraded Mobi Glasses and stuff from there. What do you make of the sneak peek that was in today's newsletter? So the sneak peek we got was of the... bring this up on the screen. Of the Crusader Hercules Starlifter. So this is the upper decks. Yeah, I mean it's getting made. It's above the sort of like cargo area. Looks really much larger than I expected. Cool. It's cool. It's going to be a cool ship. I'm sort of into cargo a bit. I'm more into mining and Banu merchant type trade than I am hauling. Isn't that an Idris tram station? It does look a bit like that, but it is supposed to be the Starlifter, sort of like the bit above the cargo area, as far as I'm aware. I quite like that. I'm looking forward to the Ares. The Ares is one of my favourite ships. Real question: in Game Glass, is Game Glass worth it? It seems pretty neat. So, Game Glass comes in two flavours: a free version, which is definitely worth it, and the paid version. And if you start to get good use out of it, I do recommend you buy the paid version. I am a shill for Game Glass though, so bear that in mind. But you can buy the individual shards. It's worth going online. I suppose I need to do a little review of each individual shard, and I will. That is a good idea. Bear with me 1 second. Review Glass in 3.9 shards. Individually. Cool. I've got access to all of the Shadow hardware as well, so I need to do a proper how well does Shadow run on each of the systems, because it works on all of them. It works pretty well on Boost, which is the lowest end one, but I want to get a proper comparison and actually look at some synthetic benchmarks as well, probably. I think that's probably a good idea, right? Is the audio okay? I can hear you. That is the extent of the need for quality. Okay, that's fine. It's good to know. Any word on the BMM? So, Banu Merchantman, no, there's no additional word on it. Blah, blah, blah. I said something I shouldn't have then. I am expecting that we'll see some more of it towards the end of the year. Obviously, it's quite a popular ship, and they're going to want to start showing some of the stuff off for the Banu race in a bit more detail. So my expectation is we'll see a bit more of it towards the end of this year, but I don't think we'd see it completed this year. Do you know if 3.9.1 will fix unretrievable ship bug, which has character reset as its only workaround? It's the most annoying bug I've seen. I've reset my account 7 times. There's a lot of people that have had loads of problems with that bug. And some people that have had no problems with it at all. Like, I haven't had any problems at all. It seems to be certain people's accounts have actually been hit really hard with 3.9. And I was seeing someone that was talking to me on my Discord saying, do you think that they should have a full account reset with every patch, again, to make sure these errors don't occur? And I was like, well, they might not be related to those. It might not be a correlation of that, or causation of that. So it's an interesting one. Obviously, I prefer stability over persistence at this stage, but I do want persistence in the game and it to be stable. Did you get my super post in the stream? Yes, I did. Feel free to ask the question again if I did talk about it a minute ago. If you didn't hear that, ask it again. Got your money, bro. So sorry, Timothy. Stole your money and ran off. And what do you think is keeping random FPS AI on planets and moons outside of missions? I don't know what you mean by that. That at the moment we haven't had the proper pathfinding required for AI to be on planet surfaces and move around on the surfaces beyond the prefabs and the points of interest. So you can have them in like a security depot. They spawn them in there. But really they need proper spawn lockers so they can spawn in and out. The NPC scheduler, which has been actually moved off the roadmap, and proper pathfinding so they can move out of the security depot around terrain that's procedurally assistedly generated. And then they are and have been building the tech for having them moving between physics grids so they can come off ships, go back on ships as well. Do you like the Mercury? I think it's an absolutely beautiful ship. But I'm pretty hyped about any new ship at all. And you'll see that in all my videos. That's why people call me a shill. Because they click on it and go, he loves this, he loves this, he loves it. No, never critical! I'm always pretty hyped about that sort of stuff. With real cargo decks coming, will there be real cargo hauling missions? Like when I don't need to buy goods and sell them, but rather missions that put cargo in my ship and I deliver. Oh, I don't actually know. They had talked about that a while ago and said that's the sort of missions they wanted, but that was actually quite a long time ago. I would expect we'd see missions like that. We do know in the original Twitch Pacheco mission, they gave you a ship, so they can certainly give you cargo and give you a ship if they need to, and have you deliver that, have that you're actually hauling for another company. So yeah, I would expect stuff like that. I just don't know when. I'd expect it actually probably quite easy for them to do that as well. 8 years no progress. That's a bit disingenuous. So we had originally had the hangar module. There's a huge amount of progress. It's just Star Citizen sometimes is a bit buggy, and when I say buggy, I mean a hot bug mess. At the moment, it's not the best. It's certainly not the worst it's been, and its mileage may vary at the moment with Star Citizen in 3.9. Like a lot of people, they're able to play totally fine. They haven't had those problems. Oh dear. Apology. Oh, let me close that. That was stuff you're not supposed to hear. They didn't talk about anything important. Ooh. Oh dear. It's a new computer. Don't know what all the icons mean. That was a new icon for Mumble or Discord, or Mumble and Discord. How have they said much about what the Grim Hex race course will entail? So they've talked about it very briefly. Actually quite a while ago. So originally when they were talking about scramble races, they wanted to have the Grim Hex as an area that you would actually fly through around an asteroid field while you'd be having your Destruction Derby-esque missions. So your races, so you'd be shooting each other while flying around a race course, scramble race style, and actually flying through Grim Hex. That's what I remember from what they said. Thank you so much, Kieran, for continuing to subprime. Appreciated. You star. I'm actually quite looking forward to some of the stuff like that. Scramble races, the actual races on planets, didn't really get used much. They may be a good idea for the future, maybe, but not at the moment. You want easy access content, or content that's open access that you can just go to any time and do, not something that everyone has to turn up at a specific time, otherwise it doesn't start, which is basically what Scramble Races did. Has CIG said if we will be able to park larger ships in orbit of player outposts instead of landing them out of the outpost? No, they haven't, as far as I'm aware. We know there's going to be some ways of sort of like logging out safely in these larger ships that have loads of beds, might have lots of people on, but we're not sure to what extent they're going to be able to do that. Any news on May ship sale? So we're expecting a ship sale with the Fleet Week. There could be a straight to flyable ship there. There could be a concept ship there. People have been talking about skins for UE military ships. I've been talking about military ships anyway. it's because it's Fleet Week. It makes sense. People have said that maybe the F8 Lightning, although I think that would cause a little bit of anger. What's your roadmap to build BoredGamer brand? What's the direction is it heading in? As Star Citizen gets more developed, I get more exposure and I get to do more content. I've just hired a editor. Well, she's going to be working for me properly in June. So I'm training an editor up at the moment, and she's going to be doing some videos occasionally. You'll see edited by her in the short term, and then in June, end of June, probably more likely, when she starts working with me properly, you'll see almost all of my videos, or at least half my videos, created by them. And the idea there is to create significantly better videos, better editing, better B-roll, all that sort of jazz. Get a bit of community management on the go as well. Do you think the roadmap should stick to a 6-month projection rather than a full year? I'm fine with a 6-month accurate projection, but I would like to see all features needed for completion. Just on paper, like, these are all the features we need to complete as well. Like, they've obviously got it written down somewhere, or they consider all the features for the game. I just like to see them written down. Yeah, and a little bit of description of every individual feature, including like base building and including deeper scanning mechanics, everything. Exploration, science, all that sort of jazz. Now that we can see that the AI cover system has gone to polishing, do you think we'll see it for 3.9.1 instead? Most likely it will go to the next major patch, because that sort of stuff needs to be tested in the Evocati and PTU phases. Why do you think that exploration is so far off that it's not even on the roadmap, especially considering the carrot just landed? So exploration isn't a single feature. Exploration is quite a lot of stuff under a lot of different umbrellas that then all add up to exploration. So, I mean, really, we want deeper scanning. So we're going to get a UI update first, but then we want deeper scanning, and then we want to be able to detect points of interest, and then go to points of interest, save their locations, and then go out to more and more points of interest on the edges of the sort of like system and keep on going, and then have missions related to exploration. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an exploration feature as a single set, because what would that contain? But I do believe they are building towards more and more exploration-type gameplay. It's just they're building out points of interest still. They're still building out the planetary tech. They're still building out a load of the core systems. So I'm looking at multiple chats across 3 different screens. So if you see me go, getting a bit derpy. Do you think that these delays and aspects taken out of 3.10 and 3.11 show the fact the game is far from being finished? Yes, it is far from being finished. I think it confirms that it's far from being finished. I think we all knew it was far from being finished as well. There seems to be a lot of food kiosks and vending machines that aren't functional. Are you aware of any plans to make these functional? So they wanted to have the vending machines actually working in 3.9 originally, but they weren't ready yet, so I would expect them to be ready for 3.10, assuming they've got time to do that, assuming that that's not sort of been deprioritized for any reason. Feed kiosks, you'll get more and more of them being functional, because all they need to do is put sellable items on them, right? When will NPCs get a little smarter, like no more standing on chairs, talking to each other, and doing certain interactions? It feels a little bit lifeless. Yeah. They are working on the AI, social AI, and all that sort of stuff. We're getting the... so the bartender keeps on getting talked about, and it's become a bit of a meme, but the bartender will represent the gold standard for social AI, and they're building out the pathfinding of the AI at the moment, the animations, and the general sort of like... They're trying to get as many NPCs in an area as possible, make them as lightweight as possible, and then still work with behaviours. So they're working towards that, and I do think you will eventually just see them sort of like switched on and moving around a bit more sensibly. They do still plan, as far as I'm aware, to have polished basic AI moving around, like social AI on the ground, by the end of this year. Are roadmap problems really communication problems? In my opinion, CIG could alleviate community anger and nasty surprises by being more active on comms. The roadmap is a bad method and excludes key info. I don't think it's a bad method, but it does exclude key info. And I do think that devs being more on the spectrum and answering questions more and doing more AMAs would actually be quite a good thing. Updating the roadmaps and then having, as part of Star Citizen Live at the end of every week, talking about roadmap updates, I actually think would be quite a good idea. Yeah, if they just talk about that sort of stuff more, I think that's a good shout for them. I think that's a solid way to go. CIG's communication is erratic. Sometimes, and in some ways, they are fantastic. They're certainly transparent, but it's a bit juxtaposed with some stuff that they're sort of like keeping secret from us because they like all spoilers, and some stuff they don't tell us until later than they should, maybe. Is it me, or is FPS worse in 3.9 than it was in 3.7? So in some areas, the FPS is certainly lower, even for me. It's significantly lower. I think some of it's to do with the new lighting updates as well. And there was a few other things as well I noticed. But some of the new features aren't dialed in fully yet. And I do think we will see, once they are properly dialed in and sort of polished, the frame rates go above what they were. Have you tried any Verpal sticks? Yes, Verpal Constellation Delta is my favourite stick, and its associated throttle is fantastic. Like, they are... Verpal do amazing sticks and throttles and HOTAS. Like, if you can afford one, and you really like it, you're in for a treat. At some point, will some ships, such as the Cat, be very difficult or impossible to run without multi-crew, due to the need to maintain subsystems? Yeah, so some of the larger ships in certain areas, I would say that's certainly a risk that you have for having a smaller crew. The maintenance might be too hard for you to do. What do you think is keeping... I just talked about that already. I think CIG should make a low expectation roadmap, but work on the same things they normally would. That way, less stuff gets removed from the roadmap and surprises might be added. So they were supposed to actually have a more conservative roadmap. That's what they were supposed to be doing, but stuff still seems to get moved off there. And it's the more big ticket items that get moved off there, which is really annoying. Do you feel that it would be wise to mark certain features as post-beta, such as orbiting planets, base building, and other non-essential game mechanics? Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them do a bit of a prioritization list and a bit of a full feature list. I do think that some things are... I mean, say, for me, really, when they're in the beta, they want to be getting everything sort of towards content completion. Where they can, so get everything feature complete and then towards content complete before moving out into version 1 of a live game. They don't need to have all of the gameplay area, but they do need to have most of the mechanics and then fully fleshed out. Considering their development is not really open and their roadmap only disappoints everyone, should CIG bother with roadmaps, quarterly release schedule, quarterly release showcases only? No, I think for me, the roadmap serves a purpose. It does show what CIG's intentions are, and they do intend to do that, and they do schedule this stuff. And it's if they had if they had another show at the beginning of every catch cycle, where they literally are like, these are the targets for this quarter, and this is our confidence in meeting them, and this is what you're going to be seeing over the next few weeks. I'll work towards them. Hopefully we'll have to make it bam, 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 bam. And then at the end, you saw Pillar Talk, and they did a little bit of a, in Pillar Talk, maybe they did a bit of a post-mortem and said, oh, these are the ones we didn't meet, and this is why. I think people would be a lot more happy with the development there. And I think you'd get a lot more insight, and it'd be a lot more interesting as a project for people, because you'd be like, well, this is why they wanted to do this. This is why they said this. They didn't meet this. They did meet this. Bam, bam, bam. And I sort of like, I don't really understand why they don't do that, to be honest. But the roadmap, even in its current state, as even if features move off, it still gives us an intention of what CIG are working on, what they are actually working on as well. It might not be appropriate for the build they want it to be. They might go, it needs a lot more work done to it. But we are getting to see what they are working on with it. And especially with their staggered development, which at the moment it hasn't really paid any form of dividends. I think it's slowed sort of like progress on the game more than helped it. It's an interesting one. But the roadmap as well. So the features on the roadmap, for me, they sort of like CIG are very much in the, let's hold this back until it's fully polished, or this is going to see a lot of iteration, so we're going to release it now and we're iterating on it because it's an alpha. And those two sort of like different sides are, well, just release it. Don't say you overly need to polish it. If you know it's an alpha and some features just get released bare bones or as placeholder, just chuck it in. That's much more my opinion on that. I mean, it's all my opinion. What is your time like for a 3.9.1 release? Will 3.10 be pushed out like last patch? Hopefully we shouldn't see any delays to 3.10's release date at the end of June. We could, but hopefully we won't. They've been obviously working on 3.10 still, and 3.9.1 I'd expect to see in May, probably as part of Fleet Week. That's my expectation there. At the moment, the game is a race to biggest ships you can fly. What will prevent the Elite Dangerous race to the big three in Star Citizen? So to start with, those capital ships and those large ships are going to be incredibly expensive to run, and I think they're probably going to be very cost prohibitive to run. You're going to need very important reasons to use them before you actually start making money from them. So if they balance that correctly, I don't think there's going to be much of an issue. You have those sort of ships for high level raids or to dislodge someone's outpost or base. So just like a capital ship in real life, they are expensive. And then you have a lot of the other ships, the support ships, the smaller ships. If they've got a lot of use and function, and they help support those larger ships, then you need both. And that's what you want. You want a few of the really large ships supported by a load of the smaller ships. And you want a lot of ships to be viable for certain things. But obviously, with the smaller range fighters, you want them to be in a carrier. Or to be operating in a very small distance. And then you've got obviously some of the longer range fighters and things like that as well. But I think they can easily get the appropriate balance, or at least they can have the appropriate balance, that there's not just, this is the OP, everyone get a javelin, win. Obviously you need the crew, so that multi-crew aspect of Star Citizen really helps. Do you think that iCache and server meshing will be rolled out together? No, iCache is much further along than server meshing is. Server meshing is something we might see Q1, Q2 next year, and it's sort of like first implementation, more like Q2 next year, sort of like domestically, for static server meshing. But the iCache is something we will probably see Q3 this year. What is more important to upgrade for me? New GPU, currently I'm on a 1080, or more RAM? I've got 16 gigs. Oh, you're pretty good with both. I personally would go for a 20 series GPU, just because I think they're really good, but they're very expensive. I mean, if you can hold out, wait until the next GPUs are released, 30 series. I severely dislike any form of inner thought, real-world interaction. Looking forward to them adding proper planets to panels to lifts, and buttons to doors. Cool, and that is what they are doing. Do you think the whole series is coming in 3.11? And what about the Arc Core asteroid field with the gate? So, yeah, in 3.11 we are going to be seeing docking. At least that's what the plan is, to have that docking feature. It's possible that we could see the Hull C with that as well. It's possible. And that's one of the last things, including the morphing physics grid stuff, that we needed before we had the hull C in the game. So it's a possibility. Should CIG delay a quarter and have an in-house quarter for each patch? So they have it exclusively for 3 months before releasing to Evocati, unless are more certain what is released. That would slow the development down, and we're in alpha. So, I mean, they could, but then you're just going to get an even slower development with stuff that might get replaced and iterated on in the future, which might still have bugs. But they are moving towards a more stable, better sort of like streamlined, less buggy, less crashy game, a more stable game. It's just taken a while, and then when we have a hint of, actually, so the PTU for 3.9 was good. Well, Evocati might have been mixed bag. How they always are, though. It was in Evocati for a very long time for a reason. And obviously, 3.9's been a mixed bag for people. I haven't had many problems with 3.9. It's one of the things with me. A lot of people have been saying that they're like constantly getting disconnected and kicked and stuff, but the Insane have been sort of fine. What else have we got? Will we see original landing hangar of Microtech in 3.9.1? So there's new updated hangars which we'll see, I think, in 3.10. Other than bandwidth issues, has individual productivity increased due to work at home? I don't know, Summer Yeti. It's a good question to ask CIG. I think that a lot of people will realise after this whole global situation thing that working from home is a good idea for at least some people, and remote, because it saves office space. It means people can remote from home. I think it's a much more efficient, effective way of working. Have you heard anything about a revamp or replacement for Port Olisar? Only that a while ago they said they were going to replace Port Olisar eventually when they had the new cargo stations and things like that. And obviously they are building new cargo stations in now, refinery stations, cargo stations, and they will need to update Port Olisar at some point. It might be at the same time they have Crusader and Horizon in properly. It might be just when they add the cargo stations. Is everyone struggling at trade terminals with delays? I did have slight delays when I was playing earlier, but I didn't have terrible ones. When do you think we'll see the Aaron Halo? Well, they're working on it at the moment. We've actually seen some pictures of it and some gameplay of it, but it's very, very bare, sort of like basic asteroid field with a gate in it. We definitely see it this year, and we'll certainly see it this year. And still, like, huge amount they want to do with it. And it's going to obviously be very good for mining and stuff, so by Q4 this year? What do you think about Theatres of War? So I played Theatres of War, which is the new gameplay mode for basically Star Marine / Arena Commander. It's Battlefield 5 objective-based gameplay with Star Citizens sort of like scale. So ships and vehicles and infantry. Arcadey style like Star Marine though. Bam, you spawn in. You have to assault a space station, then you attack the ground, and then you're flying everywhere, just in a smaller space than you would in like the Star Citizen Persistent universe. And yeah, it's got a huge amount of potential. It was very cool, but very unpolished when I played it. But the potential is fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to see it Theatres of War because it gives something for me and Zin to play. Because it should be released at some point in May. Well, it will be in our hands for at least the first test at some point in May. Not going to be released in May. It will be playable at some point in May for at least a small amount of time. When is the Crusader landing zone supposed to come out? We're expecting it for Q4 2020 now. It got pushed off the roadmap. That's what it looks like it's going to be. When do you think we'll be getting massive ships like the 40-player plus ships And when do you think we'll be getting a Squadron 42 release? Squadron 42 release, I'm hoping that we have it by Q2 2021. So by the end of Q2. That's my optimistic hope at the moment, with everything else that's happening. It's interesting to talk about CitizenCon, and I will in a second, actually. So massive ships like the Idris, like the Javelin. I mean, the 90 jump's pretty big, and we have that in game already. But certainly more than 40 people could fit on that ship. But the Idris, they want to have an Idris mission in. I think they're still trying to push to get it into 3.10. The Idris isn't going to be boardable, but it will be NPC controlled, and at least you'll see an Idris that's an Idris you can fight in 3.10, I believe is the plan. Don't 100% quote me on that. I think they're pushing for it, but we'll have to wait and see. So, CitizenCon and Star Citizen's marketing is an interesting one this year. So, CitizenCon's been cancelled for 2020, but that means that any marketing plans that they had specifically tied to CitizenCon are also going to be affected by that. Now, if they had planned for the start of Squadron 42 marketing campaign, that could slow stuff down. If they had planned to have a release date said by then, well, they're going to have to move around stuff like that. So bear that in mind a bit. I'm not saying that, oh, this is the reason it's delayed, oh, poor CIG with the global situation. I'm saying that that's certainly a possibility. And that makes sense that their marketing would be disrupted for that, and that could disrupt any release date for Squadron 42 in the shorter term. You see what I mean? They added warm and cold weather on planets. Are they intending to leave space as normal, comfortable temperature with a normal undersuit? I think there is going to be space weather in some areas, like if you're in like a nebula or a cloud or near certain points of interest. I think you're still going to be affected by environmental hazards and temperature. Have you seen any updates on the Banning Merchantman? I see the Hercules is in progress. Are they going to surprise us with a build of it? So, as far as I'm aware, they're working on Banu stuff in general, but not specifically the Banning Merchantman as in full. I don't think it's in full production, is what I'm trying to say. I would expect to see some stuff starting at the end of this year, though. What does Shadow lock FPS to 30? I don't know. I didn't have that problem when I last tested it in the PTU. I can have a look. If you... K7 Bones, drop me a message on Discord. I will have a quick look at some point over the next few hours. I'll see, make sure it's not something that... a Star Citizen bug or a Shadow bug that is easily solvable. Or if it's one of them or the other, then I can at least report it to Shadow. Notice it being locked at 30 frames. I'll have to have a look. How many systems is there going to be when the game releases? We don't know exactly when the game's going to release. There's 120 planned on paper. There's 100 that they said they wanted to release with ages ago originally. That was before we had visitable planets. So this was when there was just going to be, you see a planet and you go to a space station, or you go to just a landing zone. But now obviously you've got visitable planets, which has changed the whole game. And there's been a huge amount of changes to the scope of Star Citizen. You could argue quite happily that a huge amount of feature creep. But expect sort of like maybe 10 to... anywhere between 10 to 20 to 30 systems for a release of Star Citizen, sort of like 4 years-ish time, maybe, if we're lucky. When do you think base building will be in, and what purpose do you think it will have? So there's going to be multiple types of outposts that you can build with the Pioneer. And there might be other ways of building bases or claiming areas. You can claim land, you can build base, and bases will be used to sort of like log out, sleep, store stuff, so cargo and things like that. Potentially manufacture, exploiting resources from there, so like build miner facilities, things like that, refineries. I think that Star Citizen's held accountable to some respect by the community on Reddit, by content creators to a bit. I mean, content creators, typically like me, I'm really pro Star Citizen project, so I will talk about what I dislike, but I'm pretty easygoing and sort of like understanding. Like, when something I don't like happens again, probably be fixed in the future. I don't mind waiting. So that obviously comes through in my work. But accountability-wise, like, they are pretty open with the project, and it is in their interest to want to get it out. There's obviously been delays and stuff, and they talk about it. They do stuff wrong, and they do talk about it. They do give us updates. They do sort of like, maybe not apologise, but they do at least update us a reasonable amount. And their communication is, there's a lot of it, but sometimes it's not all that we should be hearing. Do you see what I mean? I want to hear a bit more and be updated a bit earlier. Please rank the order that we will see the tier 1 professions: agriculture, science, refuel, repair, salvage, exploration. Exploration's a weird one, and so science. Salvage, repair, and refuel are probably the ones that we're going to see in the short term first. And then exploration, and then I think science. Science is a weird one, though, because sort of like touches on a lot of areas, including agriculture. Server meshing. It seems like a real improvement on current servers and could help bring a lot of new players. Why do you think it's not being focused on for development as much as the others? Server meshing is. Server meshing has been a focus for a while, and they are they've been working on it for a while. Do you think we'll ever get an age slider for character creation? We sort of do. We have the age creation for skin. You'll be able to age your character a reasonable amount. You'll have a lot more character creation options in the future. I'm new to Star Citizen. Anyone know why I have a Misc freelancer in my hangar? They gave it to a load of people. They gave it to people to fix a bug, and I don't think it's been removed yet. So enjoy it while it is attributed to your account. It won't be there forever. Should the roadmap be on the roadmap? That certainly is a question. You monster. Let's go for an art for theme. Bam. What else have we got here? I've been having quite bad migraines over the last few days because I haven't been wearing my glasses while I've been doing stuff. It's got suddenly really hot here. I didn't turn on my aircon. That's the reason I turned on NVIDIA RTX for scrubbing the sound in the background. I was like, I'll have the aircon on, and then people won't notice I've got the aircon on, which is great. NVIDIA RTX, absolutely great. Absolutely great. But I forgot to turn it on. What else we got here? Hey, hello! Hello, Santiago. I love Star Citizen, but when is enough for not really achieving any sizable goals? They achieve sizable goals. They just are slow with a lot of stuff, and it's disappointing when they push stuff back. So let's talk about this again. So obviously there's disappointment with the roadmaps when they remove bigger ticket features, or stuff like Crusade gets pushed back. Pyro could get pushed back, and is likely to, I think, and things like that. And obviously salvage. Salvage, which is salvage on here. Gameplay feature, salvage. So this is a roadmap from 2017. I can't link it to you because it's on my desktop. I'll chuck it on my website later. I suspect there is ship breaking. No, that's not salvage. That's actually just the smashing of ships. Service beacons, inventory system. But like on here, there's sort of like the Banning Merchantman's on here and things like that. It's Cutlass Blue, the Constellation Taurus. A lot of this stuff was pegged to be completed for the end of 2017 or at least worked on. Live environment probe capture, I assume that's for the lightning probes they just released, for example. So there's a lot of stuff that got rescheduled and moved, and even with huge rescheduling and moving stuff back and forth and reprioritization, I actually think that I still think the roadmaps are useful. I just wish that there was a bit more of a expanded what is everything they need to do to get the game completed on that. It doesn't need to be on a roadmap with where it's going to fall, but just listed on a list, just saying these are features that we need completed. That's sort of what I want. I don't even mind sort of like just a 6 months. This is what the next patch is, and the patch after that. That's what we got planned. I would like a year or 18 months of roadmap. Yeah, I want the more information, the better. So this is interesting because there's a lot of stuff in here, like the gadgets and drones. Obviously, we don't have yet, and looting permissions. Although you could argue that some of that's in. So a lot of this is kind of getting. Some of it got reprioritized, some of it moved out. Crusader's on here. Obviously, Crusader probably not going to be until the end of 2020 now. And say like 3 years later. Now, yeah, it's not been delayed by 3 years like the whole project, but areas of it have been. And we're certainly in for a long-term development cycle for this game. Like it's many more years yet. And sort of like I think people understand that. And yeah, we get those playable alphas, and we get the current roadmap. They've just changed it to 3.10, so they've renamed 4.0 to 3.10. If you didn't already know, and they've changed it to 3.10 because they're saving 4.0, that number, for when we have the Pyro system in, which is the next star system we're going to have in, which they wanted to get into 2020. I hope they do. I don't think they will now. I think it's going to be at the earliest Q1 2021 sort of thing. But some other stuff that got pushed back that was pretty important, I think, as the NPC scheduler and the shield system tech replacement. So that's the sign distance field shields. This was going to fix, probably fix shield holes. But that was like we've got the proper shield tech in game. Shields look a lot better and operate as intended. But that's got pushed back. Hopefully we'll see it by the end of the year. We might not. And then the NPC scheduler, which is really important for because it has a spawn locker as well, having NPCs spawn and despawn in a sensible place, have them appropriately equipped for physicalization in like social areas to start with. But they will get expanded out for lots of purposes. But again, that's obviously quite important, and it's moved out. I mean, they still. Just a shame that we don't. It feels like a lot of these changes happen last minute. Sometimes. And it might not be true at all. Like, they might... I don't know. Was it more communication help with them giving more reasons for why they weren't able to get this in? Would a video at the beginning of each patch cycle saying, bam, this is what we're trying to work on, this is why we're trying to work on it, this is what you should hope to have in your hands by the 3.10 patch, and then at the end of it go, bam, well, this is what we gave you, this is what we didn't make it, that's going to be pushed back because of this has been reprioritized because of this, bam, bam, bam. I actually think that would be a really, really useful way of doing it, in addition to what else is being done already. But I still think that this stuff is useful. It shows us what they are working on. It shows us what their intentions are. It's just sometimes those intentions change. Sometimes they get reprioritized. Sometimes the stuff that they actually worked on, they'll go to review and they'll be like, this isn't what we wanted. And we haven't got enough time to put it in now. So we're back burner it, or we'll put it on the pile and we'll do it later and prioritize it onto this. I think that stuff happens not super regularly, but it's not overly uncommon. No, so we got here. Oh, so I really liked the changes they made to No Man's Sky. So we had No Man's Sky release, which was a terrible release. They literally lied about it, during the releases, talking about that you could see multiple players and players can interact with each other and stuff like that. And there was people found each other on the first day, and it just turned out to be a lie. Multiplayer wasn't there properly. But and then just loads of stuff on the game was just a bit trash compared to what was sort of like shown and promised. But then they sat down, they put their heads down, and they really worked at it. And they went for like a year, and they came back with huge updates, and they really made No Man's Sky a lot better. And they've kept on doing that. And No Man's Sky is actually in a pretty good place. It's a pretty good game now. It's quite enjoyable. That was because of the publisher mostly. Well, I mean, they didn't have to lie about it. I saw the interviews. He was lying on the day on Twitter. He was literally saying, yeah, the players can see each other. Oh, it's unlikely they'll meet each other though. No one else is ever going to meet each other. Oh, they've met each other. Yeah. Not down to just the publisher. I'm sure there is publisher issues there as well. And Star Citizen. Now, Star Citizen it's going to be self-publishing, so it doesn't have the sort of like, they don't have to release until it's perfect, until it's their vision. But that means we're going to get it really, really slowly. And I suppose one of the joys of that is that we do have the playable alphas every 3 months, but it's an alpha for a reason, and we do get some semi-unplayable builds in the PTU and even live builds, and some people are finding that 3.9 build currently unplayable. I'm not. I'm finding it very playable. It's like mixed mileage, isn't it? Some people are having the problems and some people aren't, which is, erratic is annoying. Why has the ship pipeline stopped its output? Has someone left the company? No. So I think a lot of the people that are working on ships, a lot of the prioritized ships are completed. And a lot of the people that would be working on ships normally are either working on new ships, Squadron 42 ships, or Squadron 42 environments. But you will see lots of straight-to-flyable stuff later this year, I believe. Or ships completed / straight-to-flyable ships. It's probably a better way of saying it. I'm surprised we didn't have more concepts earlier in the year. But, okay, actually, let's talk about this very briefly. Got it here? Yeah, I've got it here. So, Star Citizen's crowdfunding is blowing up. Like, the global situation has not hampered their ability to make ridiculous amounts of money. In fact, they've made more money, they're making a ridiculous amount of money at the moment, year on year, like twice the amount, over twice the amount they made in January, I think, from last year. And the same with February, and a third more a third more in March last year, twice the amount they made in April, and then, well, obviously we're in May now, so we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, they're over half of May's income already, and we're 9 days into May. It's absolutely insane, the fact that they are actually, without ship sales, making more and more money. And that's because the game is becoming more and more mainstream, and because of the global situation has a load of people indoors playing games, potentially. There could be lots of other stuff going on there as well. But yeah, their crowdfunding, this isn't showing all forms of crowdfunding, this spreadsheet, admittedly, but let's go down to... where are we? So, it's 2019. 52 million in January, 46 million in February, 46 million in March, 41 million in April. No. What am I talking about? 41 million. What am I talking about? 5.2 million. I'm a madman. Sorry, apologies. 5.2 million in January. So I was doing a rolling total for some reason. 4.6 million in February. 4.6 million in March. 4.1 million in April. Gonna caught myself. I was like, no, they've made $1 billion. Oh, well, that was odd when I was saying it. But yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of money. Especially during a time when they're not having the ship sales, they're not having concept ship sales. They haven't done a proper big ship sale. That's just kind of organic sales, and I wouldn't expect it's like huge whales either. So I mean, that's anecdotal. I don't have anything to back that up. But I wouldn't expect it to be whales because none of those big ship sales have been on. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, it's not too shabby the amount they've made. And you can argue with you can dislike CIG's monetization and marketing practices, but it is an effective medium. It is, as I said, development as a service at this stage, which is something that I would not want to encourage developers to do, because we haven't seen Star Citizen released properly yet. We don't know what this type of project actually produces yet. So bear that in mind. I'm confident about the project. I love the project. I'm getting my money's worth as I'm playing, and I'm making a job out of covering the game. So I'm a little bit biased there, but I love the game as it develops. I love the project as it develops. I love the people that build it. I love the people that play it. I mean, even people that troll me online and stuff, I find it interesting and fascinating. I am a little potato hobbit boy. You gotta be aware of that. Yeah, I've got a lot of love for Star Citizen as a game, as a project anyway. Yes, it's a weird thing that they're making so much money still, and and the amount more they're making. They're not just making money still; they're making more money than they ever have month on month. Did I hear that they're spending more than they're making? They have previously, so we can have a quick look at the financials if you want for 2018 and stuff. Literally my hot bar. Come on. 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 Doesn't want to load. CIG heard me. They're like, someone's looking at our financials. Quick, giving them a run around. So yeah, in the last 2 years, I think they spent more than they made. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. That's just a thing. They make the previous years they made a load more money, and now they're spending it. They obviously had well, actually, if you also count their investments that they received as well, then obviously they've made a lot more than they spent. They've got 17.5 million and 46 million from the Calder brothers in 2 separate chunks. Oh, the Cloud Imperium website's gone a bit weird. It's just showing this for me at the moment. So maybe I'll be able to look at that later. But at the moment, you'll just have to trust my anecdotal evidence of, I reckon it was about this. Yeah, they did. It was like 5 million, I think. They overspent. They spent over what they made last year. But I want them to spend the money on development like they said they would. So that's kind of fine. As long as they continue to bring money in, and as long as they're not hemorrhaging huge amounts of money every year. You want it to be a healthy business, that's for sure. But them spending more money or less money than they make each year is not a cause for concern, as long as it's going somewhere. As long as you can see that year on year they're not spending more and more and more money and losing more and more and more money. Like if it's this year it's like 10 million they've lost, you're like, and then next year 15 million, you're like, this isn't healthy. Buy new spaceships in quarantine, indeed, but there's no ship sales beyond what's available on the website for the most part. I mean, there's been a couple, but very small ones. If they do hunting, do you think they do cooking? Yeah, they should be cooking in the game as far as I'm aware. Some of the fruit and stuff they talk about with the food system requires cooking to make it not poisonous. So, and we've got kitchens and stuff on ships, so I would expect there to be some form of at least basic cooking mechanics. Technically, Squadron 42 is already a commercial success. We'll have to look at actually how many they've sold. Squadron 42, I don't actually know how many copies are sold. Do you think it's possible we'll see a Persistent Universe beta release early 2022? No, not anymore. Not with the global situation and stuff. Even if they were really powering through. There's a load of core tech they haven't got done yet. We don't know about Squadron 42 stuff. Squadron 42 represents the core of the basic game and basic engines and stuff. They have been working on Linux support, it looks like, as well, along with Vulcan. But I'm not sure to what extent. So this is the version 2 procedural planet tech. This is on Lear 3. This is actually from quite a long time ago, and I was using it to give a bit of a contrast. And still no sandworm, indeed. We have sandworms when we have the Lear system. This system probably not going to be built for a while. Is there any plans for repair mechanics that are more complex than repairing lasers at a ship? So, yes, there are. As far as I'm aware, the repair mechanics they've sort of got planned at the moment are very tactile. So it's not sort of like a mini game necessarily, but it's you taking components, replacing things. So sub-components, taking bits out, putting bits in, working out where like a break is. That's the sort of like loop there. Entirely replacing a unit. Any link for the roadmaps? I haven't got a link for the other one that I showed, unfortunately. I'll put that on my website later, though. Actually, I can do something now with it. I can put it on Imager or something. Imager. I've got an Imager for you. New post. Did that go funny for anyone else as well? Oh, that's alright. Can smell a bit of burning. I hope it's not my computer. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. Don't worry. Where was that file? It's my desktop. I can see it on my desktop then. Oh, Star Citizen.png. Okay. It's too large. It's too large. I have to put it on the website later. Sorry. Apologies. What else we got? I'm a little bit worried how much heat this PC is putting out. And I can smell slightly plasticky burning smell. It's fine. It's fine. Hey Board, I love the roadmap and I think it's great transparency and other game developers should learn from it. I play Atlas and that game is a game that is on dire need of a roadmap. So I don't want other companies to do development as a service and to do roadmap development where it's just sort of like, we'll release the game now, this is the roadmap, we can release a game and just go, it's got a roadmap, we're fixing it. Like, I don't want that to become the norm. Star Citizen's development is very unique in the fact that it's alpha, it's sort of like become playable, and they're doing a roadmap, and that was important for the development and the monetization process, but I don't want it to be the norm for all game companies, especially larger publishers, to just do that. I think that's I don't think that would help the industry. We'll have to see what Star Citizen can produce with that, with the way it's done its development. And yeah, do you still own a cat? Yes, I have Lily, who I love very much, and I also sort of have a cat that hotels in my house, a three-legged cat called the neighbor calls Tripod. Who I love very much, but he is always hungry. He will eat pretty much any food I have. He had a load of ice cream out of my hand earlier, and he had a lot of beef earlier. He's tenacious. You think if Squadron 42 is finished, that we'll see more rapid updates to the persistent universe? Yes, you'll also see more stable persistent universe because the core of the engine will be done like with Vulcan support and the core of the flight model and all this sort of stuff. Physicalized components, hopefully, or at least the physical damage system. The load of the core important elements of the game should be complete with Squadron 42 as well, and like better AI and things like that. So, as we move forward, we will get a better persistent universe. It's just, given Pyro is a relatively barren system, do you think it's this possible they may add Nyx at the same time? No, they'd do one after another. Even if Nyx is close behind, it'll still be like a quarter or two away, wouldn't it? Would it not be depressing to see an overall list of what we have left feature-wise? Because basically this game could take another 5 to 10 more years. Well, what's the problem with that? It's fine to know, though, isn't it? It might be depressing for some, it might be informative to others, but then it at least honest and real. Do you see what I mean? 5 years is still going to be pushing it. Yeah, for all the features they want, yeah. I think it probably is going to still be pushing it. I think optimistically, you could see stuff at like 4.5 years. What else we got? When you look at how much effort single landing zones take, months of work gets us one mission give or one station, how can we possibly expect a large amount of content to not take 10 years? So a lot of the stuff is building the archetypes and tools and that sort of stuff for this and getting the gold standard of these things done, and then they can reuse a huge amount of this stuff. Once they've got a pipeline for it, once they've got it down, once they've got it done, they can have lots of teams working on lots of different things, and then have the especially with the Quanta system, have lots of systems generated with dynamic or procedural content. Can you see? Can you give Zin a rise? She's doing a good job with your videos. Keep up the great work. So, okay, you might have noticed a bit of an improvement. So, a couple of videos have been edited by Zin on my channel as testing stuff. Other ones have been edited by me showing Zin how bad my editing is, but it's still a better level of editing than I normally do. So if you noticed a small improvement in the short term, that's because I've been doing a couple of things slightly differently. Zin you should notice a marked difference. Like, it should be very obvious when she takes over doing proper videos for me. So a lot of people have been congratulating how good my videos have been recently. You fooled yourselves. Right, they're just as shit and low effort as normal. Obviously I cover the news more than anything else. But I do appreciate the love and the kindness, and I know people are sort of trying to encourage her and stuff. But you'll notice a marked difference when she takes over properly. So anything that she's done, you might have seen a couple. Oh, I suppose if you... Okay, yeah. About 3/4 of the ship dev team are working on Squadron 42 ships now. Or, not necessarily Squadron 42 ships, Squadron 42 environments. So space stations and interiors and stuff like that are very similar. It's more than half the company working on Squadron 42 as far as... Well, more than half the devs. For people who just want to spend time in the verse, how long until you think we have random garbage to do? Like a mission to go and scan some animals in a field on a moon somewhere. 2023? Yeah, I mean, that seems reasonable. This is the sort of stuff that they'll start to add more and more little bits like that in. I think that you have that by then. I think I have lots of little mechanics like that by then. Adding to the science and potentially exploration mechanics like that. $1 billion, indeed. Is that funding spreadsheet the one that started back during the Kickstarter? It looks familiar. Yes, it is. It is that original one. Still updated to this day. Do you think they should focus more on fleshing out the overall project's features, or revisiting previously completed content? Fleshing out. I want them to get features in the game as quickly as possible, as roughly as possible, and get a reasonable gameplay area as quickly as possible. And then I want core features, flight model, ship combat, and network stuff all to be prioritized. That's my prioritization. And then getting everything in the game in some state. That would be what I would try and do. I'm certainly not a perfectionist in fucking anything. I'm a businessman when it comes to a lot of stuff, and just go, fuck it, that'll do. Send it to print. We need to make money. That's my video editing methodology. It needs to go out in an hour. That'll do. As new content and patches add new bugs, do you think it would be worth on one quarterly patch just to focus on bug fixes and not new content? No, not until they are like beta phase. At the moment, still going to be those problems. And it doesn't matter if they sit down and fix every single bug in the game. As soon as there's new content in the game with like a new major block of content, a new major feature, it could cause 1 billion bugs again. when you look at how much efforts, we talked about that already. What are your thoughts years after Roadmap has released? Still think it was a good idea? Yes, so even with the changes on the roadmap, even with large rescheduling, they still hit a lot of the stuff they wanted on the roadmaps. And yeah, a lot of big ticket features are the problems. Like big ticket features typically get delayed, and things that people really wanted would be rescheduled and then occasionally be pushed off, like salvage getting pushed off the roadmap. Now, I'm hoping we have salvage gameplay, the start of it, at the end of this year, but we might not. What are your thoughts? That's literally the question I just saw. With Star Citizen cancelled, what would you like them to move that allocated money to? Huh? Citizen Con cancelled. Allocated money? General marketing budget, I suppose. Next year's CitizenCon, I suppose. I would have. Okay, so what I would like to see at this year, instead of, because obviously CitizenCon's been cancelled, and they said they were going to do not CitizenCon, but some sort of in-game or a community event. They're going to have some sort of other community event. I would like to see a big CitizenCon presentation still. I'd like to see a live stream done by CIG. I'd like to see a big presentation. I'd like to see Tony Zarek talking about how dynamic world simulations work, and that sort of stuff. At the very least, I'd love to see a gameplay demo of cool stuff they've got in the works. Doesn't even need to be a gameplay demo. It can just be an update celebration stream, but with lots of cool new stuff. What's more likely to happen is they're likely to have a big ship sale and some cool community in-game event stuff that you can do. Maybe a location you can visit in-game, and then they'll do something probably bigger for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo at the end of November. What do we got here? So the plan is, as far as I'm aware, for 4.1, sorry, 3.11 is the new name for it, the Q3 2020 patch. We should have docking. We should have ship-to-ship docking. There's docking station, ship-to-station, and ship-to-ship is both part of the docking feature now for 3.11, the Q3 patch. That should have the ability to have the parasite ships, the P-52, P-72, dock and undock from the constellations. Have to wait and see if that's true, though. Yeah, I get moments of. I often get frustrated at Star Citizen. Just a random bug. Well, obviously, Eva Cardi is very frustrating. Yeah, you get frustrated with Star Citizen's project occasionally. Of course, you do. Certain elements of it. For like, why did you market it like this? Why did you do this? Occasionally, especially in the past, especially pre 2015. Will you be able to land on most buildings in New Babbage? You'll be able to land on some, probably. You need to. And you look at how much effort so with the new restricted, so next quarter, well, at the end of June, you will see what they had planned for the restricted area rework, and you'll be able to see what sort of areas we're able to land on in cities. Give more Tavaran ships. There should be a Tavaran fighter coming at some point. So Tavaran fighter, Xi'an cargo ship, mining vehicle, and a mobile refinery are all sort of like planned in the works. What else have we got? Can you talk about the 30k issue at the moment? I've heard people triggering it on purpose. Is a fix to that coming anytime soon? So 30k issues are a blanket term for anything that causes a disconnection from the client or the client to the server, or server to client. So if server crashes, that's a 30k error of some description. And if the client disconnects or crashes out or whatever, that can be a 30k disconnection, 30k error. That's a blanket term for loads of different errors. They can't be fixed in that sort of like, it's not a fixed 30k errors. They can make servers more stable, they can make the current connections more stable and stuff like that, and they are from patch to patch, at least they're planning to and trying to. Sometimes there's obviously problems with the back-end services and stuff that was with this patch when they transferred over, which caused a load of knock-on effects. So they can't fix 30k errors until a little further on, because they need a lot more of the game to be completed and not new content constantly being added, or new features being added, I suppose. And then you can have much more stable builds and them sort of like know that they're going to be stable from patch to patch. But that's sort of like when you're in beta. You're still going to have 30k errors is what I'm saying, hopefully to a lesser degree from patch to patch. Sometimes there's going to be bugs and problems though. Thank you very much, Robert Johnston. I can't play. I crashed 2 minutes in, uninstalled and reinstalled, crash, updated drivers, crash. That is absolutely lame, Robert Johnston. I'm so sorry. And some people are just having those problems, which is terrible, even with the count resetting. So it's an odd one. Is there DirectX 12 and Vulcan support in the works? So yeah, they're working on their Gen 12 renderer, is what they call it, which is them pushing towards Vulcan support. They're not going for DirectX 12 as far as I'm aware. Basically, in the short term, you'll see Vulcan and DirectX 11, I believe, and then they're moving fully over to Vulcan, and their own sort of like optimizations and updates. Thank you very much, Robert Johnston, though, for the money. I love you. Do you think Star Citizen? Do you think live Star Citizen will launch with none alpha UEC prior to all the gameplay mechanics, Star Systems, and a rolling release for everything thereafter? I'm not sure what you mean, Windlord. With none alpha UEC prior. I don't know what that means. Sorry. I might just be being dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. How viable do you think a Kraken shop called McCracken that only serves high-end food from around the verses? I think you want to get the Kraken. You want to get the privateer and fly it around, or you want to get a normal Kraken, fly it around, and have your little shops on board. Why not? Why not? I assume food kiosks, food shops will be a thing. Yeah. I didn't even think about turning the Kraken into a. I suppose it is a service station. But Kraken, just grilled octopus. Why not? When do you think they will optimize for multi-core performance? So they talked about it a couple of times recently. I think they've scaled Star Citizen up to internally to up to 30 cores at the moment. So that's part of their Gen 12 renderer and general engine improvements they've been doing. You'll see that at some point. Not too distant future. Can you think of anything bigger than the NPC scheduler that's ever been removed from the roadmap? Salvage? I don't say salvage. Oh. Bigger. Crusader's bigger. Things removed from the roadmap? The dynamic mission system and dynamic economy stuff. The first tier of that, I think, is bigger. You could do funny things with your network card or induce a latency and stuff to get a 30k error, I suspect. Pets and sandworm riding when? So the sandworm's going to be on Lear 3. As far as we are aware, that's the only planet it is on. And that could be on others in the future, maybe. Who knows? Lear 3 hasn't been built. The Lear system hasn't been built. It's actually quite far away from Stanton. So don't know when it's going to be in game. Pets, they're supposed to be a thing eventually. Not sure to what extent we'll have pets, though. Do you think they'll need to dial in the food and water mechanic more or less? Shorter time or longer time to die? I think that what I'd like to see is that longer time to die in general if you're not exerting yourself at all. But if you are under conditions which are dangerous and you don't have the right equipment and that sort of stuff, then have it much more of an aggressive drain. If you're running constantly, have that more aggressive drain on your food and drink. But the passive drain, have it even lower. So you're just like, I'm standing here. I can stand here for 24 hours and not need to eat. Do you think the current engine is future-proof, or do you think they may need an engine upgrade eventually? So the engine, as far as I'm aware, what they've got is future-proof in the fact they can build upon it whatever they need. They won't need to change engine again. That is my opinion, but I think I'm pretty safe with that one. Monthly report says M50 art in polishing. Roadmap says 0 of 8 tasks complete. They might both be accurate, but trust the monthly reports. Why has it taken so long for players to be able to give each other items and currency directly? Because they wanted to have the item cache-in, they wanted to have the iCache-in and full persistence so that data is actually saved and it works properly. At the moment, it wouldn't work to be able to give money and items to players because they need to track those items and everything. It would cause loads of problems. But they're building the iCache and full persistence for that. They're also building an app for the at the same time, I think, as cargo decks or refineries. They want to have an accountancy app that allows you to do general trades, but also direct wallet-to-wallet transfers. Any updates on exploration mechanics? Beyond that, they're building more points of interest. They're getting a big UI update, which should then see lots more of the scanning stuff done. You'll see more and more and more on exploration in the future. They'll get Stanton done and then they'll expand out, so you can actually do a lot more exploration type stuff, save locations, and that sort of jazz. Any updates on the science mechanics? It's a huge range of sort of topics, science including exploration, but there's no real updates on it at the moment. Love you too, Johnny, mate. Take care, mate. Do you think Star Citizen will launch as gold, i.e. with real UEC, so no more resets, before all of the other game mechanics and other systems are fully done? Yes, I do. I don't think they'll have all of the gameplay mechanics that they sort of had planned originally. And they're certainly not going to have all of the systems, Star Systems especially. Yeah, I suspect we will have no more resets at some point, a good amount of time before the rest of the gameplay area especially is done. Do you think we'll have smuggling missions with the Star Runner and advanced scanning to find illegal stuff from smugglers? Yeah, that's the sort of gameplay they want to do in the future. Do you plan on learning the alien languages for Star Citizen? Maybe. I'll have a look to see how viable it is to learn. I'm not great with foreign languages as it is. I'm thinking of upgrading my 325A to a Gladius. I want to focus more on PvP. I think the Gladius is pretty strong at the moment. I like the Gladius as a ship as well. What's your favourite ship at the moment? I love the Carrack. I love the Reclaimer. I love the Orion. There's lots. I like a lot of ships. Is it possible to play as an alien race? So in the future, we may be able to play with as other alien races. In the short to medium term, only humans, and then it's going to be a while before even the potential of other alien races is a possibility. Any information on the free fly event? So only thing we've got is that it's going to be a free fly event as part of Fleet Week, which is going to be at some point in May, and that's going to have a free fly, sort of like probably a ship sale, probably like skins and maybe a concept ship, maybe straight to viable ship as well, or some interesting ships, or interesting new loadouts / skins. Will the game have black markets for rail or illegal waste transactions? Yes, I believe so. Like salvage yards and stuff you already have in game. But you already like bases like jumped out originally, yeah? Do you see what I mean? For more illegal transactions. Do you know what planets are coming with Pyro initially? I believe all of the planets in Pyro. What? Pyro up to Pyro 6? As far as I'm aware. It's Ruin Station and then a load of procedural. Basically, all the planets are effectively moons. And they've got lots of moons as well, but they're like just a few biomes, like one biome each sort of thing. If you were an alien, would you be Tavaran, Xian, or Banu? I'd probably be a Banu, because I like money and trading. Arrow, Gladius, or Hornet? Oh, it depends on what for. I sort of like have a love for the Arrow, and the Hornet is pretty tough. And the Gladius is just a cool light fighter. Do you think the removal of the ability to scan minables from the Sen, Terrapin, 600i, Recon Buggy was deliberate or an oversight? Is the Sen? I was able to scan with the Sen. I swear I was. I think I was. You're right, Dr. Smugface. Hope you're doing alright, mate. And Adam, I hope you're doing well. Tredsida? Tredsida? I can't see your name. What do you think of 3.9? Are you happy with it? So, I haven't had as many problems as other people. So, with disconnections or that sort of thing. My frame rates are okay. They are lower. But I certainly haven't had disconnections and problems with my assets or anything. I've got multiple accounts as well and a load of ships across them. So UEC and Alpha UEC isn't so much of an issue for me. I've had a great time with 3.9. I know a lot of people haven't though. So it's the best large ship for solo. Depends what you want to do. Anything larger than the Cutlass. And you can... So, running larger ships solo puts you at a disadvantage if you need to repair them, if you need to manage them, if you need to run multiple systems simultaneously. But it depends what you want to do. I mean, you'd probably run a Hull E solo, but as long as hopefully nothing goes wrong. No one can pronounce your name. It's Welsh. No worries. You could probably viably run a Mercury Star Runner or a Hull C as a single player. Do you think they will be adding any new in-game ship producers? Yeah, almost certainly. They are currently working on server meshing and server updates and network code stuff. That is all core of the game. That they want to have server meshing like stage 1 as close to being ready as possible by the end of 2020. And it's more likely we'll see it like the first iteration of that like middle of 2021, I'd expect now. Obviously, that's incredibly important for the game. Ranching come into the game. Racing or ranching? Racing, yes, we're going to have that in Grimhex soon. Ranching, what? As in running farms with animals? I'm not sure about animal in farm. Animal? Maybe. There's going to be animals in game, for sure. There's supposed to be space cows. Yeah, maybe we'll be able to farm them. Maybe that'll be a thing. Have they spoke about the player-driven economy? Will there be item crafting added? So there's definitely going to be the materials are certainly going to be consumed by the dynamic simulation, dynamic universe simulation, to be used to then produce goods in game. It was also sort of implied, potentially, depending on how you read it in the monthly report, that there might be crafting in game to a larger extent, like item crafting or ship crafting or something like that. Raising livestock. I would love raising livestock. I'd love having livestock. I think it's possible. Do you think there will be any scanning and hacking content in game anytime in the near future? Scanning, yes. Hacking, to what extent do you mean hacking? There's very rough hacking now, and they'll expand out with the more UIs that they're building into the game at the moment. They'll expand out that hacking gameplay. That's how they'll expand out with the updated UIs and stuff. So you could see more and more missions or more and more gameplay that has a bit more interaction with hacking in the near future. Yeah, maybe. So I've got a migraine, so I might dash off in a second. Will we ever get a compass for planets, not space? So there's going to be a way of working out where you are, being able to navigate. We're not sure what that is yet. Coordinate systems, maybe. Could be some form of compass. But there's going to be ways of navigating. We just don't know what. Well, are storylines coming or a point to the missions? So, point to the missions, does MMO in general have a point to the missions when you're looking at like cargo and trade and things? Sort of like more open to what you want to do as an MMO. But there will be mission chains in the future. There will be lore that will be impactful on systems in a bit more detail and stuff. The dynamic mission system and the quanta system, the dynamic sort of like universe simulation, that's being worked on as well. Did Star Citizen just die? Got a 30k and now can't open it. A lot of people seem to be getting those 30ks. I think it's still up. Just close the launcher fully and jump back in. Right, I am going to dash off. So something that me and Sin might do. I used to be a chef, and Sin's a bit of a foodie, so we might. Well, I'm going to at some point be doing some food stuff. So making some of the foods in Star Citizen with recipes that are then repeatable. I'll try and get the recipes that the devs had in mind for them, and then try and make them. But stuff like that. I want to do some silly things as well on my Star Citizen channel. Give you the recipes as a video. Might just be for Patreon's VIPs and YouTube members, but maybe it'll be for everyone. I don't fucking know yet. There's lots of stuff I want to do on the channel, and when I haven't got any other stuff to do or I want to do something special, I like eating. I like food. Maybe you'll like food. Are they done with mining after the refinery decks come out into the game for a while? There could be other little tweaks they do to mining, but for the major gameplay mechanics, I believe so. Spacewell Steak. It's not in the game yet, Spacewell Steak, but they've got lots of like the Big Benny's noodles and the Wham's burgers and a load of the food like that. Even the Garcia shakes and things. The burritos. Do you think the player transactions and new trading could be groundwork for the Banu Merchantman gameplay? I mean, so the Banu Merchantman gameplay, as far as I'm aware, is sort of like having shops in the Banu Merchantman that then other people can trade with and use. I mean, effectively, that's the same setup as space stations. So, I mean, I suppose it's connected with player-to-player transactions as well-ish. How do you think crafting in a traditional MMO sense, crafting table combining components to create complex items, would fit into the game, aiming for some form of realism? It's not going to be that sort of creation of products. You'll probably go to an area or a station and then say that you want something built and it'll manufacture it for you. So like a factory or 3D printer or something like that. It's probably more like that than putting stuff into a table. It'll be much more tactile as well, I would expect. Right. Any other questions before I dash off? I'm going to check on my dad and my mother, make sure they're okay. My dad's doing very well. Thank you very much for all the kind words over the last few weeks. Very much appreciated. But he's doing pretty good at the moment. Trying a more aggressive immunotherapy in the next few weeks as well. So that could give him a lot more functionality as well for a longer period of time. Planet life and creatures? Question mark. So they talked about space cows recently. That's going to be the sort of first creature we see in game properly. That's not like just an insect or something. And then they've got space whales that they're going to have on Crusader. They're going to like breach the surface. They're a bit bigger. They take a bit longer. But space cows are sort of like going to be very common to UE worlds in general. And very repeated animal. The Cutlass Blue and M50 seem pretty behind still. Do you think they'll still make it into the next patch as planned? I believe so, yeah. They talked about them a lot more in the sort of like sprint reports and monthly reports recently. So you can see they're actually making quite a lot of progress with them. Will ice giants be frozen copies of gas giants? Or can we land on ice giants and also mega earths? I mean, should be able to land on mega earths. I mean, isn't mega earth just anything that's a bit bigger than Earth? But gas giants, ice giants I suspect are going to be landable, probably, maybe, or mineable at least. What's the best all-round ship besides Starships? Avenger Titan. Love the Avenger Titan, great all-round ship, and then probably up from that to the Cutlass Black. Right. I'm going to dash off. Is the gameplay in the background playable right now? This is from is it Gamescom 2016 or CitizenCon 2016? I was giving examples while I was talking about some of the older roadmap updates and stuff. The planets and sort of like stuff in game at the moment looks significantly better than this. It's just this is a mission that they put together to show what missions should be like in the future. And the missions we've got in the game now, they work, but they are a bit shallow as missions. Typically, not all of them. Some of them are pretty in depth and cool. But you can make a mission look much better on video by doing it and knowing what you're doing than you could if you were just doing it for the first time. And I want to be able to do a mission for the first time and it be procedural and different every time. But for me to be able to enjoy it and know what I'm doing and make it look good. You see what I mean? As a content creator, but that's sort of like a me thing. So the freelance has been given to a load of people. I think it was to everyone for the short term because it was fixing an error. It was fixing a bug. So like everyone can have access to the freelancer for now. Right. Is there a way to speed up time to see the final product ready? I'm too excited. Unfortunately not. I fucking wish. How much of Squadron 42 do you think will be directly affected by Star Citizen? Tech, not story, but feel free to talk about story guesses. So a huge amount of the Citizen universe and Star Citizen and Squadron 42 share the same engine. It's the same everything else other than cinematics and potentially gameplay area, at least in the short term. But everything else can be shared, and then even the gameplay area can be shared eventually because they'll want to put the Odin system in the Citizen universe eventually. So it's a huge amount. Like I'd say 90% plus of the game. It's like cinematics and the individual scenes and the actual missions in Squadron 42 that can't be shared. But I suppose even the missions can be to some extent because parts of the missions. Right. I appreciate all the love. Thank you very much, Rockilla. Thank you. I appreciate the big head that you've given me. I just want to play without fatty carers. Yeah, I'm sorry that some people are getting them. I'm obviously, I find that stressful. I'd find it more stressful if I was experiencing them as well. I'm glad that I'm not, but I'm sorry that you are. Right. I'm going to dash off. Are you excited for 3.10? Yeah? I mean, I'm hoping they got the Idris mission in there, which I've been wanting for a long while. There's some solid AI updates that I've wanted as well. Want to know what they're going to have for purchasable items in the factory line shop. Grim Hex updates, cool. If the AI aren't going to be derpy anymore, great. New targeting methodology and the high-speed combat. If it is solid and people aren't like, change this immediately, then I can redo my whole ship buyer's guide series with that in mind, which I'm quite excited to do. Cutlass Blue, ship that I love, yeah. And then just generally prettier stuff and some new weapons and things. So yeah, it's got some cool stuff. Better AI, got AI working, the FPS AI, great. If they get them more involved in missions, that'll be making me a bit happier as well. So I'm hoping that the ship combat updates and ship HUD UIs and stuff like that are in a good state. Let's hope for a stable 3.10. Let's hope for a stable 3.9.1. That's very playable for people. And let's hope for a very good 3.10. We'll have to wait and see. All right, I'm going to find someone to post. Sorry that I was got everything wrong and broke everything when I started earlier. I do apologise. We're going to go and host Moist Noodle because he'll be doing something active and interesting, an actual Star Citizen, and flying about. And I love the boy; he's a good chap. Right. Oh no, I got it. Give myself my own chat rules. Bam. But yeah, thank you so much. Very much appreciated. So we don't know 100% when 3.9.1 is coming out. I'm expecting it in May. I would expect it probably to be part of like Fleet Week / the Free Fly. Sort of makes sense to me. My background is currently the 2016 version 2 Planets procedural tech they showed for CitizenCon 2016. And I was talking about roadmaps and the roadmap changes and the original roadmaps and stuff. Which I will put up the 2017 roadmap up on my website so you can see some of the differences and changes and some of the stuff that made it and didn't make it. And I'll probably do some videos on that later as well. But thanks very much for watching, guys. You take care. Peace out. Love you loads. Thanks very much for all the kind words. I'll get a Squadron 42 update up on Sunday. And then I've got some content I want to do with the Sim throughout the week. I'm doing some gameplay from 3.9, hopefully with no problems. Maybe problems. We'll get a state of the game up and stuff like that as well. But I love you guys. Take care.